Namaskara. Welcome to another episode of UVCE Chronicles, an initiative of the UVCE Graduates Association. My name is Adrian, and I'll be your host for this episode. Our guest, Ravi, is a 1995 batch electronics graduate from UVCE, and he's currently the co-founder and CEO of Numocity Technologies here in Bangalore. So in Chronicles, we have a tradition wherein we believe that nothing beats a first-hand introduction from the guest. So, Ravi, would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Namaskara to everybody. Thanks, Adrian, for inviting me for this broadcast on Chronicles. Happy to be here. Very quick introduction from me. I always say, as the journey from UVC to what I am right now, a lot of them depends, and a lot of contribution I would give it to UVC to start with. That's the basis foundation of your value system, the way you study, the way you approach problem. Quick intro from my side. I've been in a corporate world for close to 15 years, working in large telecom companies, international India, and then for the next close to 15 years now being an entrepreneur, multiple companies, multiple activities. At the same time, I'm also a professional volunteer supporting a lot of global causes, whether it's IEEE, I'm part of TIE, I've been part of several other groups over the years. So I've seen mostly the journey from a technology point of view, not anything more. So in that sense, it's a slightly single-sided view of the world, of looking at purely from a technology. I've spent some time trying to move away from it, but predominantly a technology guy. Technology and understood the business aspects of technology and trying to make business out of technology. So that's a bit of a change from where I started to where I am right now. I think that's a quick intro from my side. A little bit about myself. I was a very quiet guy in UVC. Maybe I'm not so quiet right now. So that's the big change from me in terms of my personality. And yeah, I read a lot. I click a lot of photographs. That is something I've been doing for a long time. And that's what I enjoy doing.
Okay, fantastic. So you've been a Bangalorean your entire life?
Yes. Born, not in Bangalore, born in Belgaum.
Okay.
But I think schooling, everything in Bangalore. So I studied in St. Joseph's, all my schooling, and then of course UVC, and then did my MBA at IIM Bangalore, and then worked all through in Bangalore in all my companies. But of course, not always in Bangalore. Many a times or many months spending either in Germany, Finland, or in Delhi, Mumbai, several cities over several periods of time. But base is always Bangalore. From that way, Bangalorean at heart, always been in this road, having all my colleges and schools on the same road, which is what this is called Ambedkar Bhavan, right? This road and Residency Road,
correct.
Both these places.
So, what was it like to be a UVC in the 90s?
Yeah, very interesting. Probably the crowd of this generation don't see UVC the way we saw it in 90s. For me, UVC had a slightly more personal touch because I'm the third generation UVCN in my family. My grandfather was UVCN in 1920s or 25 somewhere. Mm-hmm. He did his civil diploma when only the first main building was existing. I think he studied there. So he always used to talk about it. Mm. So I knew there was a college called UVC when I was young. Then my uncle studied in late 60s, 70s. So he studied, I think, one of the first electrical or electronic batches in 70s. So he spoke a lot about UVC. And when it came to 90s, for me, UVC was a top college at that time. And I was the last batch of annual course.
Okay.
95 was the last batch where an annual system existed. Mm-hmm. And CET was just coming up in terms of getting your seat allotment. And seats were allotted in newspaper, okay. not in a counseling. We were one of the last batch which had a newspaper allotment of courses. So when you apply, you write down the colleges you want, you write down the courses you want, and automatically the system will announce which college is given to you based on your priority. Whatever you give us 1, 2, 3, they give it to you, and that's how it is. And
This was a 4-year or a 5-year course?
4-year course, but it was annual. We didn't have semesters.
Right.
We had yearly exams. So 90s, it was a big deal to get into UVC. You had to be in the top ranks to get into UVC because this was the number one college. And then, of course, NIT and UVC would be seen in a similar way. Guys who want to be in Bangalore would prefer UVC. Guys who don't mind going to Surathkal would go to NIT. But NIT quota was smaller. UVC quota was slightly larger. We were a class of 105, 110 people. I don't know how it is now.
Okay.
110 was our class size, and of course, with all the reservation and quotas, it was a pretty large size, and all diverse kind of people would come in. So I was fascinated that I want to be in UVC because I had two generations at home who told me you have to be in UVC. Interestingly, I think I put all UVC in the top, and for some strange reason, my uncle convinced my father that I should be in electrical. Because that's the in thing to be, and nobody believed in my family that ECE and computer science is useful in 90s, so I put electrical and then computer science and then electronics and then BMS and then RV or some 2-3 colleges, and that's all. Interestingly, I had a better rank in medicine than in engineering.
Okay.
So I had a medical seat. And then my parents were very, very gung-ho that I should be a doctor because we have no doctor in my family. So everybody wanted me to be a doctor. So I didn't join UVC till the last date, till the date when it was announced that the last day for paying fees. And interestingly, because I put electrical first, for my engineering rank, I think I was sub 300 something. At that time, anyway, they allotted electrical. So I was not sure. I was saying, I don't want electrical. But at that time, the scheme was, you apply, you get the seat, you join, or you apply for a change of course and wait for second list, which will come after 1 month or so.
Okay.
So that my dad was not so comfortable that we don't want you to a second list, or the option was go to medicine. On the last day, I said I'm not going to medicine. There's a lot of fight at home. Then I was told that okay, now you just join. Don't talk, just join. So I joined, and then I don't remember the principal's name. He looked at me and he said, Yakappa, course electrical for your rank you will be in computer science or in ECE. Why don't you go? But he said, I can't change, but you can go back, reapply and come back. You will definitely get it. Or you will get it in BMS, RV, anywhere you want. But my dad was very clear that now you've come in the office room. That time it was more like you go into principal's room, show your documents, he will see you, he will say something and then say admitted, and then you go and pay the fees. So he even asked me saying, would you really join? I said, no, I'm going ahead. Then he told me, no, at the end of the year, you can change. If you top the college, I will change it for you. I said, okay, and I came out. I think that's how I joined electrical first, though that is not the preferred choice. That's not what I wanted to join. With the way I had applied, then I realized that it's very important. In fact, I give this tip to everybody else saying, be clear what you want to apply first. Don't blindly enter what you want to enter. First year went very well. I think that's when I experienced UVC, and very interestingly, I topped the college on first year. So I was given automatically, principal called me and said, okay, I told you, you top, I'll give it to you. You said you go anywhere you want. So I moved to ECE by my choice because I loved more, let's say, hardware, and I said I want to learn a little bit about it than purely computer science. I mean, I had option to move into any one of them. So I moved into ECE by choice, and that's how my first year went. In fact, I remember I think topped civil in first year. We had civil as a subject in that time.
Right.
I think I had 99 or something as a topper in civil. My grandpa was a civil engineer, so he was very proud that I topped civil at that time. But from university point of view also, I think electrical I was a university topper. So then I was given an option to say you can move to any course you want. So that's what my initial days of UVC was.
So was computer science, I think there was a point where electronics was more popular than computer science.
This was the time when ECE was more popular than computer science. So naturally we all wanted to be there because at that time the jobs in software were very few. You want to get into HAL or an NAL was a dream for a lot of people. C dot or a CDAC. Get into those which C dot rather, no more than CDAC, because there the jobs were more and people were getting hired for more mix of hardware and software, which is more easy. HL, NL, everybody wanted people with a holistic thing, not just knowing only software. So I'm not saying it was better or anything, but in students' mind, it was ECE was a better option than pure computer science. Over a period of time, it changed drastically. Because we were also the first batch which had a campus recruitment in 95. When I joined in 91, I passed out in 95. 94 was the first time when we started getting a campus recruitments in UVC.
Okay, I think Sudeep was telling there were only 6 students who got recruited out of the entire batch, and you were one of them.
Yeah, we were one of them. That was in 95 beginning, I think, or 94 end. So that's how UVC was. It was really good because one thing when I joined in there was being in the top college was everybody's dream. And also when you come in, you see best of the lot joining in each. A good thing is for me because I studied 1 year electrical and then electronics and then knew the computer science crowd. I probably am friends with all the 300 of them. I know all of them. I know each one of them very well. I have got my best friends coming from electrical batch. Some of my best friends coming from ECE, and I have good friends in computer science. So over last 30 years, I would say I know many of them now. That's how the beginning of forming that networks happened in UVC, because we really did not see it as 3 branches, and me being able to move across all of them was a great deal because I could connect with every one of them. And that was really good learning.
So you were placed at Siemens after UVC. So what role did Siemens recruit for, and how were the initial years at Siemens?
See, this is where I think UVC played a slight bit of a role in shaping our career. In 1993-94, C. was looking for graduate engineer trainees. We had all approached thanks to IEEE association at that time. I was an IEEE member. We all went to all companies and asking them, would you like to take us for internships? We did it on our own. We just started a student branch in 93.
Wait, the student branch of UVC, IEEE student branch started in 93?
Yeah. We were one of the first ones.
Oh, okay. So you're part of the founding team.
I think there was some student branch predated to that. Then it was done. 93 we started.
Oh, okay.
So I was one of the first members. Me, I think Avik was one of our classmates who started the whole thing. So we started 1993 IEEE. Student branch was...
And I think Venugopal sir was...
Yes, he was there. He was the branch counselor. So we started in 93.
Okay.
And because we had nothing called computer science at that time, all we learned was Fortran in ECE and a little bit of COBOL with other guys. And computer science guys were learning a bit of C and Unix. From IEEE, we organized with IISc a 15-day camp in UVC. On a lighter note, we didn't have too many classes because it was an annual thing. We didn't have too many teachers. We had a lot of free classes. So we went proactively, invited from IEEE, professors from IISc to come and teach us Unix and C. For an ECE kid, it was very good because we had zero knowledge on what computer is. We had not even touched a computer. There were just few Unix terminals in the computer science lab in UVC. Otherwise, we had not seen what a computer was because all we had seen was breadboards and others. We didn't even have an access to a computer. So that course did a wonder because we suddenly learned Unix and C and we knew what does it mean, what does the software means, how to write a program. Because all we knew was Fortran. From there, learning Unix and C was a big deal. C was a big language at that time. There was no C++ and nothing else existed.
Right.
So that was a big gift from UVC. I think by proactively what we did, a whole host of us, we learned something new.
Yeah.
And we were all very confident that we understand what it is. And we got to touch few terminals in the lab and we understood how things work. We went to C. and many companies saying, give us internships.
Okay.
C. said, okay, we'll come, but we will do it formally in campus. We'll do tests, we will do everything, and we will select. I did not even have hope because they wanted programming kids. We were all not programming. But I think luckily 8 of us got selected and I was one of them. 4 from EC or 4 or 5 from EC or no, I think they took mostly EC. Surprisingly, because they said we want people who understand telecom, who understand hardcore hardware. They didn't take, I think 1 or 2 eight of us got selected in CDOT, and they gave us a 1 year time. So we spoke to at that time, I think there was Professor H.N. Shivshankar. He was one of the early, he was our ECE professor. He was also the principal or dean at that time. So he said, Hogi Parvagilla. And we had only one class throughout the year, 1 or 2 class. So I was very lucky to get 1 full year of internship coming to CDOT, which was right on this road in Millers Road, walking from UVC. And for 1 full year, we worked in CDOT with just 1 class or 2 classes on Saturdays and Fridays coming to campus. Otherwise, we never came to UVC for a year. I mean, we were just a few kilometers away. Morning, we would walk in like an employee. That was fantastic. CDOT was just building the early telecom networks, PBXs. So they threw some absolutely new things at us and said, learn. Now a lot of people in big companies will work on a language called VHDL, which is a design language. It was just coming up in 94.
Right.
So CDOT said, we don't know anybody who knows this language. Can you guys just figure out and tell us how does it work? And then one of our mentors said, why are you just learning language? You build, I think probably we built the first, we call it the behavior model, that is simulating a chip's behavior completely in software. Okay. Which means you design the software, the complete design of a chip on a software using the same elements. Yeah. And each element is actually a simulator. And the whole thing is a simulator. You write the program to make the software behave exactly like the chip. So they gave us a chip from one of, I think, 2 megabits receiver and transmitter and telecom. Now 2 Mbps we don't even talk about. 2 Mbps is a big deal at that time. So I remember we took a year and we converted that whole chip into a software chip. So you could do exactly what the chip does in a software, all written by a program. And it is all programming with a language called VHDL. It was called Dabble at that time, Dabble VHDL version. But it was completely a hardware converted into a software which behaves like a hardware. You can give signals, it will respond back in the same way. I think that was fantastic. And UVC role was one, giving us the time, giving us an opportunity to get in. And for any help, we would go back, check with some other profs how it works and come back and work. I think that was a kind of a career changer for me, because by doing that, I was already working for a year.
Right.
We didn't get any money, I think no stipend or anything, but we were like employees. We were full-time there with a badge as employees working for a year. And at the end of the year, when I think Siemens was one of the first companies which came for campus recruitment, like I said, one of the first companies who started the campus recruitment. In fact, from IEEE, we had also gone to Siemens to request saying, come and do the campus recruitment. We went to all companies. At that time, only some 10 of them existed. IBM, Oracle was there, Texas Instruments, Siemens, some 10, 15 companies. We went to all of them, and Siemens came. And I think some of us did very well on the interview. On the written test. An interview was great because they wanted to know how much of telecom knowledge we understand. Okay. And I was rattling what ISDN was and how the chip behaves, how the technology works. And he was one of the very senior guys from Siemens. He said, do you really know all this, what you're talking? And thanks to CDOT, I exactly knew what I'm talking. And I knew exactly how the telecom networks work, not just my chip, because I was designing for the whole thing to work, and I knew how the other systems also work, which I had no clue what they were. But I could explain to him exactly how it works. And the guy said, this is the first time I've met a kid who actually understands this technology. We are working in Germany, but you seem to know exactly what these are. Of course, I did tell him it's because of my internship, I know this. But he said, yeah, you're very clear on how the things run. And I think that was an opening, because they said, we really need you. I think this is really good that somebody in India knows these things and it's good to enter. I think that was my beginning in Siemens. And interestingly, I opted and I jumped into a team which was doing exactly what I knew. Or rather, they put me into a team which exactly was doing what I know. Okay. And that was not
a continuation of the CDOT work?
Somewhat kind of. Siemens was building something similar. But it was completely software, writing a compiler. And now I was out of my comfort zone, because I was not designing a hardware component now. I was doing a compiler. and it was the least known project in the whole company because it was only a research project going on. So a lot of people regretted that. Rather, people said you will regret because you're doing something which nobody wants because it's a research, and everybody else wherein 5 of us got selected, and 5 of us, 6, I don't remember now, 5 I think. They were all put into projects which are commercial, which were hot in the company, and we were a small company at that time, less than 100 people. But I enjoyed what I was doing. Next 2 years, least known project in the company, but we were enjoying doing what we were doing. I think I learned how to build a compiler, Lex and Yak, and we built, not a computer science student, but I was building a compiler, writing on my own. And it was also a wonderful time in 90s that we used to get enough time to train. Unlike now where everybody jumps into job, we were trained and I was comfortable doing it. But also the sad period because it was a heavy attrition period. Everybody went to US for a job in the late 90s, 91 to 98. Everybody would get through a consultant and go away to US. So the team I sat in changed in 1 year, everybody left. I was the only guy left.
Okay.
Me and maybe one more person. And then my German boss said, "Oh, now you have to manage, you are the senior most." I had to take over the whole project, and now I had new people to whom I had to teach, and I became a team leader in 1 year because I was managing everything because I was the only one who knew what it was.
Were you tempted to go to the US?
Not really. I've not even tried once. So I was very clear that I don't want to go. I knew that things will happen here, then there. Didn't know what US meant, didn't know what Germany meant because I'd never gone out at that time. But I was pretty clear that I'm not going anywhere. Probably I'm the only one who have never ever tried through anybody to find any job outside of India. I don't know, maybe there are many, but for me, I can speak for myself that I've never done it. So I stayed back there and I enjoyed doing it. And that's a time, I think it was also a kind of inflection point. The German boss looked at me and he said, "Why are you looking at only doing a software? You should have a knowledge of something called a T. You should also broaden your knowledge, and you seem to be on top of the domain and topics very easily than going into depth." He said, "You should be a manager or lead something." I was too young, 2 years, 2.5 years, 2 years experience, 2.5 years. He thrust me and he made me go to so-called management meetings, where at that time it was a big deal to sit in a management meeting and explain to them what are you doing, status and everything. So probably I was the youngest when I was pushed into one of those, and I ended up talking to the director of Siemens at that time, explaining to him what I'm doing. And I was a 2-year experienced guy trying to make my own PPT. PPT was a big deal. Somebody doing a PPT was a big deal at that time, 96, 97. But I think that suddenly opened me up into enormous possibilities because they saw me as a very confident kid who was able to come and talk to Siemens director at that time. So big deal to talk to a director. Getting him to speak was a big deal. But here I was given an opportunity to go and present my work. Not my work, my whole team's work, to say this is what I'm doing. So a lot of them noticed me, all the general managers, VP saying, "Who's this kid who's coming and talking here?" So that was in a way very different because now suddenly the whole top management knew who I am. And they had an opinion. They knew my name and they said, "This guy is confident. He knows what he's talking. He's presenting. When everybody's writing code, this guy is coming and presenting something." I think that was a game changer for me in terms of my next phase of career. In the phase of next 1 or 2 years, I stopped coding. People said, "You don't need to code. You know, you can do other things." So that also was a time where a lot of my mentors, including my German boss, said, "You need to do an MBA. This is not for you. You need to do something else." I think they changed the course of my life in terms of what I did. Because until that time, I was a hardcore nerdier, a quieter guy sitting and doing hardware design, software design, doing all of them, writing code. But this guy said, "That's not your strength. You're actually good at something else. Why don't you look at it?" And I didn't believe that. I said, "Hey, look, I'm good at this. I don't even like to talk in public and I'm a very quiet guy." Typical UVC, and I was very quiet and to myself. No, that's not you. Do something else. I think I'm always indebted to some of those guys because they said, spotted me and they said, you're something different.
It's very rare to find mentors who proactively give people feedback.
Yeah, I think that time it was all nice. I mean, see, those are wonderful relationships, right? I built with all of them with whom I'm in touch even now. Probably I'm doing much more than what they did in their own careers. But at that time, they spotted me. They were just spotted a young guy who was running around and doing things. HR played a major role. A lot of my mentors played a major role. I think that's when they triggered me to say, do an MBA. This is a time for you to do an MBA. And I had an option whether to go to CAT and do my full time or not do it. I really loved what I was doing. And coming from a kind of background, you are in UVC, I didn't want to leave my job. People said you're crazy to leave a Siemens job at that time. A lot of people left, but for me, I wanted an anchor for my family.
Were MNCs a big thing back then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you're working in Siemens, you are treated like a king in the city. Just by saying that you wear a t-shirt with that badge, people would love to know that you work in that company. It's a big deal. So I think from a stability point of view, financial stability and everything, I had to take my options, which one is better. And I said, I went to IIM, I spoke to them, and then I realized that they were starting a new course. And first year I didn't, because I didn't believe. Some of them said, hey, don't know what that course is, don't take it. By next year we knew it was a full-time MBA, and I could do that, and I could do exactly what I want to do and fit it in so very well in my plan. So did that for next 3 years, so stayed with Siemens, didn't move anywhere. And also that was a phase where a lot of internally in the company I was very well accepted, as not as a programmer but as a non-programmer who can do a lot of things.
Okay.
So I think that was a good acceptance from the company also. Because at that time everybody were benchmarked on how well can you code. And I was a guy who was not coding but doing a lot of other things. So there was an acceptance that somebody of that value is also of value in an R&D setup. Right. But what also helped is HR made me at that time. It sounds funny right now, but we doing a lot of activity in the company was a big deal. It's more about engaging people and all of that. So the HR had become a nice friend. He said, "Why don't you come and lead this thing?" Everybody said, "Waste of time. You're wasting your time." So I ended up being the head of HR engagement committee or something, as an employee head. So with HR, I used to do now hundreds of things. So I was within a year, I was company's most known person, because everybody would know me as to this is the guy who was doing everything. It was nothing to do with my work, but I was extremely popular in the company because everybody knew me. You ask anybody, they would know who Ravi is. Not because of my work, but because of what all I do. I think that combination really helped me to open up, become a very different person.
Right.
Now I was making speeches, talking to people here and there, doing everything, business-wise, non-business-wise, negotiating with people for company and doing all kinds of things, from finance to HR to everybody. And that's when I was doing my MBA, so it helped really well.
So I think the small number at Siemens helped in that, if it were a much more larger organization.
To a good extent, yes. But by 2000, we were already a 1,000-member company. 800, we had grown 10 times.
Okay.
So already in a 1,000-member company, I was known. My strength was that everybody knew me, and to a good extent, I knew everybody. Right. So that helped me to do a lot of things within the company, and very well known in the company that this guy is a known guy. Everybody knew. Like there is a serial, right? Everybody loves Raymond. So I was more like everybody loves Ravi. Everybody knew Ravi or loves Ravi. They say we would like to work with him. So that I think changed my personality from just a programmer techie to a techie who's non-programmer, a techie who could do other things. And that was also, if you have other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just flowing with my talk.
Yeah.
That was also the time I finished my MBA, and I came back.
Was it difficult to do an MBA?
It was extremely difficult. I was working probably 18 hours a day, every single day, because my work was also extremely tough. A lot of things to be done. There's a different story on my work challenges, what Siemens was going through. But I was working 18 hours a day for 2 years, studying and working all 7 days, working Saturdays, Sundays, studying Saturdays, Sundays, weekdays in the mornings, going to IIM, coming back to company, working till late 10 in the night.
Was the IIM coursework heavy?
Oh, it was extremely heavy. Very challenging also.
Yeah, you'd expect that from an IIM.
Yeah, it was very challenging. You had to manage both sides. Of course, there were times when I had to compromise on either one of them. Either I compromise on my scores or compromise on my work to some extent. But I was also having some tough bosses at that time, so all was very, very difficult. But I think it was good. I mean, we didn't worry too much. Of course, in IIM also I did very well. On the other side, I was one of the first guys who got selected by IIM for best entrepreneur of the as student entrepreneur 2001, I think.
Student entrepreneur. You started a venture at IIM.
Wireless power was the whatever you see, the key power pads was our idea, and we didn't patent it. That was the sad part. This was 1999-2000. So IIM was just doing entrepreneurship as a topic. So we were even given a cash award from IDFC or IDFC, I think first. At that time they were sponsoring the award. We got the top award. I was even invited by IISc that it's all very good. We'll fund you, come out and work. But I think I was too attached to Siemens. I said I'm not coming.
Okay.
I regret it now. And later also, 2 years later, another IIM contest by Berkeley Haas. My team, me and a couple of us, we were the toppers. We topped the Asia round.
Okay.
That was Ranbaxy's the medical sample collection and what they do now.
Right.
I think it's called Dr. Lal's does it, Lal Path, and everybody does it. Home collection of samples. This was in 2002. We gave that business plan of how it can be done. Again, we got selected by Berkeley Haas and the top 5 ideas from Asia. I didn't implement it. So those are 2 regrets I have. And that's what triggered me also to be an entrepreneur later on.
Right.
Because I knew I could do it. Just that situation didn't allow me to do it. I didn't want to do it at that time.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped. So after MBA, I checked with Siemens saying, I don't want to do anything what I'm doing now. Give me something new, something else. But being an R&D setup, they said, no, there is no other job for you.
Okay.
Either you leave or do something else. But I think interestingly, sometimes everything falls in place for you.
Yeah.
Siemens was trying to set up the prepaid business in India, and they were trying to see, India was a big market. They thought we should have small team to help and support us. And then I was asked by somebody saying, would you like to? Because I was open for doing anything. So they said, would you like to try this? I said, why not? So a lot of risk, again, feedback from everybody where by that time I was already a manager and I was doing a lot of things for a big project of Siemens. And I was very well known internationally for that. So they said, why would you leave that and do something unknown? I said, no, unknown is exciting than doing the known things. I know this and I'm doing it. I think that was another game changer. I took that. I toiled, I spent months together in Germany. I toiled like anything to ensure that we can do the whole thing in India. We don't need to do it in Germany. It was extremely tough convincing. And some of this company, right now what you see in Numocity, bulk of them come from that entity. Some of them come from that entity which I started in 2002. Two of them are from that team which I formed in 2003, 2 and 3. And we grew it into a very successful business, hundreds of millions of dollars. And that was the first time Indian R&D set up in Bangalore. A sales, a support, a customer-oriented team was set up. Everything was built by me by scratch, working more than 20 hours a day. We have slept in office for weeks together and not gone home.
Okay.
It was extremely hard, but what we did gave us so much thrill because we built India's network. I went to every single customer. I've slept in PPL's lab. I've slept in Airtel's place. We have done everything what India does now. So that's the proud feeling because what we worked then, worked hard on the ground, including Vodafone, everybody was built by us. By us sitting in Raja Towers in NG Road here, working non-stop. We grew into a large team, handling all of Asia, all of Africa, China and everything. So that moved me from R&D guy completely into a business guy. I was doing business for Siemens for large scale. And we were the first team in India who was doing it for Siemens. So that also put us very way ahead of everybody. And then internally within Siemens, my kind of position and brand value was very high. I was the youngest guy, fastest growing guy, and the only guy who was doing things which nobody else was doing.
Right.
And I was the business head. I was directly reporting to Germany. I was doing customers. If they want to know anything about customers, come to me. I would know the Vodafone CEO, CTO, and I would go and talk and come back. So that also we set up, not only business-wise, technology-wise, the first internal lab telecom network was set up by us in Ravikiran Towers. India did not have one of them. I could make a call within my own network, sitting in office.
Okay.
Between two phones in my own network, not going out. So many things we did. In fact, Airtel and others used to come to my lab to see how the lab is, how it works for them before to buy. So we were continuously doing demos and everything. So I think that phase was extremely good. India was growing, we were learning, and we built wonderful team. All of them are there in Siemens and other places. I built a 200-member team at that time with different skill set, different thing. Each one is a star. Everybody is grown up to different positions in across companies and also in Siemens, I mean Nokia right now. So that was a phase where I think it was a fantastic learning, and I used to always joke, IIM made me work for 20 hours. My business made me work the same 20 hours for the next 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
So if I don't sleep now, I blame those times, because I still feel like working 18 hours, 20 hours, because that's norm for me. If I don't do it, I feel something I'm not doing.
Okay.
So I think it's like what do you say? The kick you get of your hormones, right? When you're working and you see a success, you know you can do it.
Right.
And that sweet feeling of getting things working, making things happen, gives you the kick. And that's the same kick as an entrepreneur. Because as an entrepreneur, when nothing works, making it work gives you the thrill, rather than just making things work.
I can see that pattern. In the first year, you slogged for changing a branch. Then you slogged at CDOT. Then made 106 people at Siemens.
Yeah.
And then built a team, handled IM coursework and Siemens. So
you need to get that push in yourself to say everything is possible. The other thing what I learned in those years is that you should never, this is a debate which everybody has, should you be domain specialist or do you need to be a T of knowledge, which is sufficient breadth and sufficient depth. I think I used to talk about it, now this word is also coined, I call it a comb. That is, you should have some breadth of all knowledge. You should be an expert in multiple topics.
Right.
It's like a comb. You have horizontal, not one depth, multiple depth. So I'm one of those guys who believed strongly in multi-depth and breadth.
Yeah.
So you need to do many things. I can seamlessly move between finance to technology to marketing, to move across any of them at the same time with sufficient knowledge of how to do it at the horizontal level.
So 15 years at Siemens is no joke. I think most people's marriages don't last that long.
Absolutely.
So what's say, I know there are a couple of recent grads, people who are recently placed at companies. What's the secret to thrive in the corporate world?
Yeah. So this question a lot of people have asked me. So I have an answer which may not work for, may or may not work for others. See, somebody gave me this example. You take a sapling, put it in one place. Every second year, take it out from that place, replant it in another place. Keep doing it every second, third year. Take another plant, put it in one place, give the right water, right nutrients. After 15 years, you see which one is stronger, well rooted, and which one would have grown better. That's my answer for your question.
Okay.
So I'm not saying Siemens was the best place. I'm not saying it had all the right things. Or did it pay the best salary? Probably not. But maybe the opportunities I was getting, maybe the thing which I was getting was extremely good. I was not doing one thing at a time. I was doing multiple things. And also within Siemens, every third or fourth year, I've changed my role, changed my job. So, which means it's like a new job.
Right.
It's like a new job and you're doing something new. But in a familiar environment, so your success factor is much more. So I think that's the analogy which will answer what you asked.
Okay. So towards the end of 15 years, you decided to take the plunge. You have a nice job, well-paying job, and then you say, no, done with that, I want to try my own thing. how does that happen? Like what made you take the plunge?
Yeah. So there is another aspect also which I'll say in a few words. Like I said, always there was an itch because I have built a business for Siemens. After that, I did multiple other things in Nokia and in Siemens, which is all about building business and sales. I realized that I could do it again and again. I know what I'm doing. And I know how to get customers, how to get everything. But I was doing it in a corporate setup. Mm-hmm. And anything new, the big companies don't have the appetite to take it up. That's why most innovations come from a smaller entity. So I was head of mobile TV in 2010. I was head of IPTV. I was head of MMS, which is nothing but your WhatsApp now. I was head of mobile wallet, which is nothing but your Paytm and PhonePe now. This is 2010, 13 years before. Mm-hmm. I was the head and I pushed all of them in the market. But a big company was least interested because revenues would come 3 years later. They wanted revenues this quarter. And that was one of the trigger point. And then that was also the time I always had, I think I joke about having that one poster saying, I want to be an entrepreneur poster. It always said that if you want to be a CEO, I had said that by 40 I should be. That was my internal personal goal. I was 38, 37 maybe when I left Siemens or 38 maybe. I realized that if I don't do it now, I will not do it. Right. Because it's a very comfort field. Interestingly, I left on the day they gave me a promotion.
On the very day?
Yeah, on the day when I was asked to become head of a large group in Siemens, which would have given me a big jump in my career. I spoke with my wife, realized that if I take it up, I'm done with my... I'm fully with my corporate career. Because that will suck me in so much for another few years that after that, coming out of it will be very, very difficult. And I'll be in that loop forever. So I had to take a call saying, do I want to do that or do I want to do something on my own? Which I knew I could do it because of my past IIM experiences, that I've done things and I know exactly what needs to be done. So I think that was the time which triggered me. One was age, one was my vision or dream which I had that I want to do it. Third was my best advice I've got from one of my profs in IIM is leave when you're at your peak. Don't leave when you're not feeling good. When you're absolutely at your peak is the time for you to do something crazy. Don't do when it was his advice. It was for me to take it or not, but I believed in it. I said, only when you're at your absolute best, do something crazy. Because then you have all the confidence to go full crazy. When you're not doing fine, if you try to do something new, your confidence levels are low and you will fail. Right. You will not succeed. So that triggered me saying, when the promotion comes is the best time. Because somebody thinks I'm so good that I can be there. So that's the time for me to leave. People didn't believe me when I said I'm leaving, because they said 15 years, 16 years, you're a lifer here. Everybody loves you and you're the lifer here. Why would you leave? And people thought I'm going to another company, but I never ever met any other company or spoken to any of them. Next 15 years now, I've never looked at a job. Right. So I think that was a trigger to start. But of course, entrepreneurial journey itself was a big learning. I had to unlearn a lot of stuff because I was acting like a corporate guy. First 2 years was a very difficult journey. Yeah. Because whatever I thought is the way to do is not the way for an entrepreneur to do. So it took me 2 years to unlearn all of that. To say I'm no longer a big shot in a big company. I'm actually nobody in an outside world. Where I have to unlearn everything and start to survive with absolute bare minimum. We call it jugaad now, but I would call it frugal. How to operate frugal, how to make decisions. Nobody else is going to make a decision for you. In a big company, you can make a decision, but there are 10 others also claiming if it goes well. And you can point at 10 others if something doesn't go well. Right. In an entrepreneurial journey, there's only you make a decision. And you make the decision for failure or success is also your ownership. There is nobody else to point at. It's a big mindset change when you become an entrepreneur. So I think it took me 2 years to get to that point that I know whether it is there or not. But a lot of people give up in 2 years. Nothing worked for us in first 2 years. I put up a team with known people, everything, but nothing was working. We were not making money, we were losing money, and we were not earning anything. We built a lot of new Economic Times covered us in the first product what we built. All of that was great, but we were not making money. So it was a time when the question was, would you give up? Corporate job was waiting. everybody were calling saying, hey, just come back. Nokia called, everybody called saying, just come back. You will get your positions and you will be back to your hierarchy. But I think it was about that each which said, once you step forward, never go back. When you go back, you've given up on what you started with. So I think I stuck to that, saying I'm not going back. It doesn't matter whether I'm not able to do it. I'll stick and hang around and see what happens. I think that hanging around is what is brought us till here. Because giving up is a matter of 1 minute.
Yeah.
Not giving up is a matter of, if you do it, you survive many years. That one itch, if you can get out of, it's great. I think that's my learning. That you can give into that one small thing for your comfort, whatever you call it, comfort, luxury, or safety. But if you don't, it opens up enormous opportunities.
Right.
Because then you don't have that fear that I have to go back. Of course, when I say that, you should also remember that planning your financial stability is your job.
Yeah.
And usually your spouse and family help a lot. Because at that time, if you're not, if you family doesn't back you, you're in trouble.
Right.
Because they need to back you also. I think that worked very well for me. My spouse is backing, my family is backing, and my kind of perseverance that I'm not giving up. I think that took me everywhere after that, and I've seen a lot of downs.
Yeah.
Several ups. I wouldn't say lots of ups, several ups. But I think net, now I'm already an entrepreneur for 14 years.
Yeah.
Is it been good, bad, ugly? I am enjoying it. Is it always been positive? Definitely not. Do I enjoy my positives? Absolutely yes. Do I not like my downs? Some probably has given me learning. Some I know were my own mistakes. Some I know I shouldn't do it. So net, I think it's a happy feeling.
So you've been an entrepreneur for 14 years, and again, you're a serial entrepreneur.
Correct.
So could you just quickly name the companies you've founded and maybe a 2 or 3 line description about what they do?
First, we did what is called as Pugmarks. Pugmarks was a telecom product which tried to find out what is the user doing on his phone. Right now, that's what we do now, 13 years later. All the telecom companies do, but it was pioneering product in 2010, 2019, 2010, so rather. So it is. It didn't work. Telecom companies didn't give me money for it. They came back to me in 2018 asking for that product, but by then I had moved on. Second product was on. It was called Territory, Nintendo. We named it multiple. We built it for telecom. It turned into e-commerce platform. We were successful there. We did quite some money, but it failed for a different reason. The market didn't fly as much as we thought. We were funded. We were NASSCOM 10,000 startups first company, first 10 companies. We are in news. If you search Territory, you will find us there. A lot of good things happened, but at the same time, we were still making a lot of mistakes. And the market didn't grow as we expected. The same ideas Flipkart tried to do in 2019 or 2018. They asked us, do you have the platform? Whatever we did in 2012, 13, they were trying to do in 2017, 18. So we also realized that that's a big learning I have, that nothing you try is a failure. Everything you try is only a matter of whether the time is right or wrong.
Right.
A lot of old people tell you, right? Time sarila. This is not the time. I've learned it the hard way that that's exactly true. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is a failure. Just that the time of that idea has not come yet.
Correct.
It comes after a few years. I've seen it with 2-3 ideas. That time it did not work. Few years later, people want it. Can you hang around is the question. Can you hang around with that?
Yeah.
So that was my second company. Third, I switched for a year and a half. Started an institute called Deccan Center for Innovation and Design. This is funded by Deccan newspaper.
Oh, okay.
So I was a director for it for 2 years. Not as an employee, I was a director. Me and one NID professor, we both started it. We were trying to teach business to NGOs. So that's 1.5 years I took away from that's the only non-tech work which I've done. I took away my time to say, let me do something other than technology. So I worked very, very well with water conservation, solving some food problem, agri problem, all around the country, in Manipur, in Orissa, everywhere. For 1.5 years, we worked with US company called Unreasonable, did a lot of things. So trying to look at non-technology problems. My only role was to bring some business models into these places and trying to teach them to make money, and also trying to tell them where technology can be used. But then after 1.5 years, I realized that though I enjoyed that 1.5 years or close to 2 years, my heart was full technology. For me, that was not so much resonating, and also the way NGOs operate is very different from the way you create a value, because they are looking for grants and then trying to make an impact on people. They are not trying to grow that impact to a larger scale. Some do, most of them don't think of. They all look at what grant, how do I make some change. I was looking at a larger picture and saying that may not work. So after close to 2 years, I think I came back to doing what I do always, which is good 2 year break, but 2 years later back. And then the next company was called InnoHabit. There I tried a business model of bootstrapping, not raising money from anybody. So we were doing an offshore development center for Comtel, which is a Finnish company, working in telecom. We were running a company of around 50 people. So that was giving me enough revenue to try out many of my ideas. So I would earn here and I would spend here. So bootstrap, nobody was giving me no funding or anything. I had a team of 10 people who were trying out. We built a industry leading product called Voices, which is about product management. That was even recognized by Gartner to be the top 10 products in the world for 3 consecutive years. We were in the top 10 products in the world. Sadly, it didn't make money. It is still running. I think I have the cloud running, but it didn't make money. But we were way ahead of time at that time. Only 3 products or 4 products in the world did what we were doing. All built by some 5 people sitting in Bangalore. That gave me even more confidence that if I get it right, we can build a world-class product. And that's when Numocity happened in 2017-18 timeframe. So InnoHabit went into a bit of a freeze. We were doing some things. Interestingly, the company which I was running got bought by Nokia. Nokia bought that company. So I had a cut-off exit. So that company went away. So I had all my time. That's when we spent a lot of time trying to build IoT products in InnoHabit, and that IoT led to e-mobility. And then we had to form a different company because InnoHabit was designed and had clients with other nature, solar, industries and others. So we said, no, we don't want to mix things. So Numocity was formed as a different company because Numocity had by new co-founders and others coming in. InnoHabit was completely a own company by me, which is still an existing company, it still runs, but no business right now there. But Numocity took over most of them and formed into a new company. And last 5-6 years has been Numocity.
So I know entrepreneurship has been sort of glorified over the past couple of years. At least the vision people have is, okay, there's an entrepreneur, a vision suddenly pops up, and then suddenly there's a company that's making a successful product. That's clearly not how things happen.
Definitely not the way it happens.
So how does it happen?
Many times it doesn't happen. That is what people forget. 90 to 95% of the companies which form don't exist after 18 months. People go back, or some of people like me may persevere in some ways, but most go back. The sudden successes you see is a factor of the timing, the people, funds coming at the right time, customers asking for at the right time. That's a timing part. So all of them link to timing. It just happens for some, does not happen for 90% of them. So both are extremes. The smaller percentage, which is at 8 to 10%, are the strugglers, the hustlers who make it work. The rest go away. The top guys will make a lot of money, they become the superstars, and they may claim whatever, but mostly you should remember that it just happened. Of course, they did good work. I'm not questioning whether they didn't do a good work, but a lot of things fell in place for them, which didn't fall in place for many others. Yeah. So the others, it's a very tough journey. The guys who sit in the middle, it's a very tough journey. Sometimes there is no vision which pops up. or your vision is not what the market wants. So it doesn't exist that way. So hard learning is there is no vision.
Okay.
You should broadly know what you're doing. Talk to your customers. They will tell you what they want. So this is Steve Jobs' approach to the other approach. Steve Jobs' approach is I know it all. I will tell you what you should have. But the market doesn't work that way. I have tried that.
Yeah.
But I know it all. I've come. My first company bombed because of that. Because I said I know it all. And I built a wonderful product. But the customer said I don't want it.
Right.
But now our approach is completely other way around. We understand what it is, but find out what does the customer want, and if he's willing to pay. If he's willing to pay, slowly build your product, and then validate it.
Right.
And other thing I always recommend to all entrepreneurs is don't build a company, don't form a company. This is called the early validation phase. Play this for 1.5 years. I never had a company called Numocity for 1 year of trying what we are doing. Only when it got validated, we formed a company.
Right.
If it was not validated, we would have dropped it.
So you do a lot of volunteering work also. Obviously, I think the seeds took place when you started with IEEE.
In UVCE.
And then the Deccan Institute also.
Yes.
So what sort of volunteering?
Yeah, so see, this is where people felt you do too much, because volunteering also, I call it professional volunteering. You should not volunteer for something if you don't have time, or you don't have passion, or you don't want to contribute. If you are there for a name, title, or just hanging around there, don't do it. For me, it's like a sin. You're wasting somebody's time, you're wasting some resources, and you're just trying to take credit for it.
Yeah.
That's not required. So 93 is when IEEE started doing it, but that was as a student level, probably nothing much. After joining Siemens, I left it for a period of time because I didn't know, with my IIM and everything going on, it was too much. For 4 or 5 years, I did no, other than the company related work, like I told you, that was also volunteering. Nobody was paying me to do the HR work. I was volunteering for all of them, but that was internal volunteering. I think 2001, once I did my MBA, is when I realized that I need to get my network growing very well. Because I had my Siemens internal network. Everybody, like I told you, everybody knew Ravi.
Right.
But outside, I did not know anybody. Forget others knowing me. I did not know anyone. So I think I went back to IEEE at that time. And within a year, I was on the Bangalore executive committee. Again, my approach always is take the hardest job, which nobody wants to do, is when you prove yourself and you get actually nuts and bolts of what the organization is.
Right.
I've done that in every place. Always pick the hardest job. Don't pick the glamorous ones. So I think I picked up most of the tough job which nobody wanted to do. Did it very well over a period of time, for a few years. Then I knew everything about what IEEE is, all the nuts and bolts of anything and everything what the organization does, and got to meet a lot of people. I started connecting with academia. I used to work with ISRO director, so I knew him personally well. Then Power Grid, and then CPRI. Worked with all the director level. IEEE, they were coming at high. I understood how government operates, how academia operates, the level at which they talk. I was still less than 10-year experience guy, but sitting with them and working with them. Now it's not working under them because they're not my bosses, but I was working with them, trying to find out how do they think, how do they decide. I think it was wonderful working with each one of them. I worked with lots of them over a period of 10-15 years. All of them are my mentors in a way. Some of them went on to do the Chandrayaan. So I know some of them was the head of ISRO's telemetry division. They're my personal mentors. They can pick the call and call me anytime. I can pick and call them anytime. Because they've seen what I can do. And I've learned from a lot. Right. So I think IEEE in that way was very Bangalore-ish for a period of time. Then people pulled me into Asia Pacific. I was secretary, a lot of roles in Asia level. And then I moved on to global. Now I've done enough at global level that within IEEE everybody knows what I can do, what I cannot do. And I don't promise what I cannot do, stick to what I can do, but do it perfectly. If you take up something, do it well. I think that also opened me with IoT for India was an organization which was started by TAI in 2013-14. I'm one of the early members of IoT for India. Now it is called Matrix Forum by TI. I was one of the early ones who built it. Then I had to step out because of Numocity, not much time. Deccan was one, DCID was one which we did for a period of time. I'm even now a TI charter member, a TIE Bangalore charter member. I support for all the young entrepreneur programs I teach, I help them. But I think there were many more other things which I got involved, but over a period of time now I've limited myself to a few things where I can actually do what I promised to do. So I think it's wonderful to do it. Two things it teaches you. One is you build your network where you get to meet a lot of different types of people whom you normally don't meet, whom you normally don't engage with, and there's a lot of learning from them, which is extremely valuable. Second thing is you get to lead without authority. That's what I call volunteering is amazing, because you lead a lot of people with a purpose, with an impact in mind, not with authority. You work with people who are senior to you, people who are passionate about that cause, and that I found it very fascinating in the last 10 to 15 years. I work with people who are way elder than me, way more experienced than me, but when we have a common purpose, everybody aligns and says, okay, let's do it. And you can do it without authority. You don't have to demand, command, you don't need a position for doing it, but you get the results. And I've seen it hundreds of times. Now it's become ingrained that it's a wonderful learning. And that's what I try to use in my business also, that you don't have to lead with authority. You don't have to show your position in the hierarchy to get some work done. You can get the same thing done if you can show the passion and you be part of the passion. That's the biggest learning from IEEE and volunteering. That is, you show the passion, a lot of people follow you with that passion. If you show the position, a lot of them run away from that because then they know that you're showing off.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode, Ravi. I'm sure our listeners would have found it really insightful to listen to your journey. And of course, the different spheres of life. I don't think I met a person who has experienced this much in life, not just in the corporate sector, volunteering, as well as the entrepreneurship, not just one company or multiple, all in the span of pre-retirement age. That's just incredible. So thank you to all our listeners for joining in. You can of course reach out to us on Instagram at Vision UVCE. And also, if you'd like to shoot us a mail, you can reach out to us at uvcega.chronicles@campusuvce.in. So stay tuned to Chronicles.
Thank you. Sorry, I kept